Whoa. Beneath the blackness. That's totally not gay.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Stormy outside, great day to play this game. Wait, what? National Target System Registry. So, about 2 months ago, a new Quake mod dropped titled the Immortal Lock, which is a new level for Quake that's around the size of 2 Quake levels combined.
Wow!
The level also introduces a handful of new enemies and several key puzzle sequences that require creative use of the physics of Quake. However, the rabbit hole for this chapter of Quake goes deeper than the depths of this eldritch entity's bowels.
Or maybe not, who knows.
That, and we will give the game itself a look, so stay tuned. So far, in the game, the only clue we have as to what might be hidden beneath the surface of this dimension is a series of journals and cryptic messages left throughout the level for the player. Based on what we can read, the story of the Immortal Lock appears to revolve around some kind of eldritch entity known as the Devourer, who we have jumped into for some reason. However, we apparently are not the first one to do this, as the logs appear to show a previous expedition that was undertaken, in which the expedition team began to slowly deteriorate both mentally and physically. It starts out simple enough, with the expedition team describing the inside of the Devourer and making observations on the various things they find. However, the team soon begins to fall into a sort of depression, after appearing to struggle finding a way out and getting separated and seemingly picked off one by one. Some of them even appear to take on a nihilistic mindset, as evidenced by some of the journals, as if they have seen or felt something on an almost spiritual level. There are also red lines on the floor and old books of some kind left in the same fashion as the normal journals from the expedition team, except they appear to be from 2 other perspectives entirely. Based on their wording, it seems like either A, another individual tried to destroy the Devourer but ultimately failed, or B, the fake red journals are messages left by the Devourer itself telling of how it came to be, or how it arrived to wherever we are in the game. One thing I can say with certainty is that this apparently happened multiple times before, based on a handful of journal entries found in a lab complex on the other side of a slipgate that we find in the game. These journals talk about the incident involving the team we just found that they lost contact with, and revealed they were conducting similar expeditions in other dimensions. So in a way, they just recycled the plot of the original Doom, except they used Quake and some kind of eldritch entity that they made up. On top of all of this, at the end of the game, after getting the silver key and having the Devourer send you freaky messages on screen, when we finally get through the sweatiest boss battle in FPS history, we decide for some reason to give up. Wait, what? The ultimate conclusion I can give based on this is that the Devourer is an entity that eats dimensions that has consumed part of the Quake world that it exists in. So, not much of a story, but I digress. Alright, well, we can drop the act now and get into the real fun. Now, putting the weird story aside, the gameplay of this is not far off from the base Quake game, aside from a few new enemies and a new weapon. Other than that, there's no real changes from level geometry and certain puzzles. For instance, there is a zero gravity room that is all white, featuring enemies that are all black for some reason. I walk with a stick, I walk with a gun, I walk with a stick, I walk with a gun, I shoot. This particular room requires you to gather 4 power-ups repeatedly while kiting the room with a grenade launcher. The only problem with this challenge is that you have to get this perfect on the first try, and the enemies can sometimes send you flying, which given the zero gravity, is not very helpful at all. Also, the power-ups are on opposite ends of the room from each other, so reliably kiting the room is very difficult to do. Personally, it took me 10 tries to get it right before I finally got to leave the room. There also are platforming puzzles that are required to get necessary items you need for the game, and that's assuming you can find the way to them naturally. You see, like any retro FPS game, this chapter of Quake is very difficult to explore even if you mindlessly wander around looking for more enemies to kill. And even then you won't always find what you're looking for. Assuming you didn't look up a tutorial for it like me, you'll have to randomly experiment with different strategies to figure out what you can cause to happen in order to progress. But thankfully that's it for the negatives of the game, and we can get into reviewing the positives, which we'll go over now. Now, there isn't much in the way of new content, however, there are a few new things that do exist in the level that are pretty cool. To start with, there is an upgrade to the Thunderbolt that fires exploding electrical pulses instead of the standard electrical bolt. It also does a metric ton of damage and feels like a rapid-fire rocket launcher almost, but with faster projectiles instead of slow-moving rockets. There are also a few new enemies, such as red versions of the Spawn from the base game. These two alien ape-like creatures that look like they've been ripped from Half-Life, that are both fast and hard to kill. And there's flying demon-looking creature called a Gaunt, which shoots lightning from midair, and even a variant of Ogre that shoots a nail gun shotgun hybrid instead of the standard grenade and chainsaw duo. Both of these additions are fairly interesting, despite not being much, as they do add a change in dynamic to an already weird Quake experience. Now, for the question everyone is probably asking. Is Quake the Immortal lock worth it? I mean, yeah, if you don't mind downloading a virus off of GitHub. Overall, it's pretty fun, but don't expect any super deep lore or story or anything. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please be sure to like, subscribe, follow me on all relevant socials, share the video with a friend, and follow my Twitch and Rumble accounts. And I'll see you in the next video.